Hi, good evening. My name is Ann Coyle. I am the manager of perinatal bereavement programs at Virtua Hospital in South Jersey. I was asked by my friend Debbie to do a little video on grief because that's my job, that's my life. So these are really trying times that we're going through. Try not to touch my face. These are really trying times that we're going through. When we talk about grief, there's a couple different words we hear when we talk about death or grief or anything like that. The three words, that we hear when dealing with loss or grief are grief, mourning, and bereavement. Grief can be defined as the internal thoughts and feelings we have when somebody dies. It can cause physical symptoms. Some people have anxiety attacks, lack of appetite, lack of energy, many different things. It can cause many different symptoms. It can also cause emotional and spiritual reactions. So crying, anger at God, your belief system, anger at anyone, doctors, whoever if someone caused the death. Grief can be thought of as kind of the container that all of this is in. All these thoughts and feelings are in the container. Mourning is taking the feelings out and showing them. So the definition of mourning is the outward expression of grief. So in years past, some people still do, wearing black clothes, looking sad, tired, or depressed. The third word, bereavement, is defined as being deprived of someone or something. The word actually means to be robbed of something or someone. Bereavement is kind of grief and mourning put together. I can safely say in these times that we've all experienced some form of grief in the last few months, whether it's a personal loss, the overwhelming stories in the news. I know for myself, I had to make myself or my husband turn off the news coverage to keep myself from sinking too low into the darkness. I remember feeling the same way after 9/11. We were in such shock about what had happened. We watched the news all day because we just couldn't believe it. Then we noticed ourselves and our kids getting sadder and sadder and sadder, and I turned off the TV. Not to ignore what's going on, and that's what my husband says now. You can't just ignore what's going on. You have to keep up with things. But just self-preservation. You just need to self-preserve. If things get overwhelming and you realize that it's just listening to COVID all in the news all the time, shut it off. Every now and then, there's ways to get the information. Grief is not always about a death. It's the feelings of loss we experience, our freedom to gather with family or friends. All of us, I know I do, miss that. Staying inside, the isolation, and staying away from others. Maybe it's a loss of income or just a loss of routine. Whether it's a routine of your job or a routine of just being out every day. I am personally worried about all of the people experiencing death and not having the rituals that previously helped them move through the journey of grief. The thought of people dying alone without family around them and families unable to say the last goodbye, the last words or the last goodbyes to their loved ones will have a long-lasting effect on our society. And also the healthcare workers who are seeing this day after day after day and experiencing people dying either alone, or maybe they were allowed one family member in the hospital to be with them at the end, or maybe the nurse was the only one there holding their hand. But to lose 2 and 3 and 4 and God knows how many people in one shift, it's got to be long-lasting on our healthcare people too. I know that's taking a toll on them. So I really worry, about all of those people. And people have different reactions based on their ethnic or religious traditions, their personal beliefs about life or death, the person's age at the time of death. That's how the person reacts or how society acts around them. If the death was sudden or expected, death also confronts us with our own mortality. We think about ourselves or our loved ones dying. I know for myself, I recently had a friend who, from high school, actually, whose husband just died. He's in his 50s, died from, COVID. The thought that, and I said to my husband, and I broke down when I was telling him, I can't imagine her being the only one that could go in the hospital and say goodbye to him. That her two daughters had to sit in the car, teenage daughters, had to sit in the car and wait for their mom to come out from saying goodbye to their dad and not being able to do that themselves. And then going home to an empty house and no one being able to come over. I said to my husband, I can't imagine nobody being able to come over and console me if this ever happened to you. Or vice versa. No family, friends, nobody can come over and hug you. As her friends, we're just at a loss on how to help her. It's just a terrible time. So not to be all down and depressing and whatnot, but these are challenging times. Obviously, these are challenging times. So you want to make sure that we're all doing whatever for self-care, like I said, and self-preservation. So whatever it is, if it's writing, if it's, get out. The weather has been nice. Get out and take a walk, whether it's exercise, as in vigorous exercise, or just taking a walk, around your block or around your town. You can take a walk. If you're the only one out there, you don't have to wear a mask. Obviously, if you come near anyone, you should have a mask on, and you should obey the social distancing rules. But get out and get some fresh air. Talk to someone, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on a text, whether it's FaceTime, whether it's Zoom. I know there's a group of friends. I have a group of friends, and we meet on Zoom every week because a couple of my friends live by themselves. And I can't imagine being completely by myself, although I do dream of it because I have a lot of people in my house. But being by myself during all of this, and how scary that must be, because she's a person with not a lot of medical knowledge. So how frightening this all must be, to be in a house by yourself and not see your family or your friends. And she's thrilled that she can see us every Thursday on Zoom. I heard this morning on one of the talk shows, Today Show or something, one of the people said, they were saying, what will you continue after this is over? And she said, I hope to continue doing the Zoom meetings with my family. Because she said, we kind of live all spread out. And she said, we don't talk all the time just because life gets busy and whatnot. She said, but to be able to take an hour just to talk to my family and see all of them, it really just, makes me feel a lot better. So I'd like to continue doing Zoom with my family. So, I've had a lot of loss in my own life. I've had multiple losses in my own life, and at least me, because I like to talk, for at least me, it's helped me to talk about it, talk to people, just tell my story, kind of process it in your head if anything has happened to you, especially a death. Just kind of processing it in your head and getting it out and getting a good friend who will just listen and listen again and again and again and again to the same story. I know my coworkers, heard the same story over and over, and I'd say to them, did I already tell you this? And every one of them would say, no. And they just let me talk about it to let my brain process what happened, because sometimes our brain just needs to process what happened. So I wish all of you, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercise or writing or talking, find something, find someone in your area. Look for, resources in your area, maybe counseling online or something, just to get some help and get out there and know that people care and other people want to reach out to someone too, and maybe they don't know who to reach out to. So find a friend you haven't talked to in a long time and maybe, do some FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, is easiest for you. And I just wish that, you all get some help if you need it. And I hope things get better soon for all of us. I never realized what a social person, I always knew I was a social person, but I never realized what a social person I was and how I miss physical contact. I keep saying to everyone, when this is over, I'm going to be that crazy lady in the street just running around hugging everybody because, wow, I miss hugging people. So, look out for me in the streets after this is over. I'll be out there if you need a hug. All right. Have a good day.